How to buy a house in probate before the seller has the deed. That's the topic of today's show, and it's going to be a juicy one. This is Todd Toback, and I want to welcome you to the No Limits Real Estate Investing Podcast. If you have not been to our site, head on over to nextlevelwholesaling.com, and there I've got a gift for you. It's actually an assessment. It's a quiz. It's a tool. It is absolutely amazing. You got to go to nextlevelwholesaling.com. It's going to score you in the 4 core areas of your wholesaling business. That is marketing, acquisition, disposition, and accounting. Basically, how much money you are making, which is the most important thing. So go there, take the assessment at nextlevelwholesaling.com. And after you have your score, it's going to basically be abundantly clear on the very next thing that you need to do to shoot your profits to the roof and to create more time in your life, more margin in your energy, and have a lot more fun in the process. So go to nextlevelwholesaling.com. So that being said, let's jump into today's question that was sent in by a listener on how to get a probate deal done before the seller has the deed.
This is Greg. My business partner has a family member, slash friend that is, they had a death in the family, and they have a house in escrow that they're going to own, and they have not yet, gotten the conversion. They haven't got it converted yet, to where they actually own the house. It's going to be within about a week or two. And we just want to know, what's the nicest and best way to kind of enter into a deal like that? As far as, because of the sensitivity of the subject and everything. They've already said they're going to sell us the house, but how do we approach that, before it comes, can you help us with that, a probate type of deal?
So great question. I'm glad that you sent this one in, because these are my favorite, juiciest, most value-added deals that you can do besides buying a property with from a seller who has a family member living in the property rent-free. So this type of deal is my second type of deal, and that is pre-probate. And why is that? It's because we add a lot of value to this situation. The seller doesn't have a lot of options except for dealing with you. And so the root of the question is, Todd, hey, how do I do a deal where the seller really doesn't have the authority to sell to me yet because the legal process hasn't gone through? Now, if you don't know anything about probates, probate is when somebody dies and they own a property, and that property is kind of waiting to get transferred to the heirs, right? The sons, the sisters, the brothers, the daughters, whoever that is, right? That property is waiting to get transferred, and there's a legal process to transfer that property from the estates, right, from the person who passed away to the heir, right, the son, daughter, sister, brother, right, father, mother, whatever that is. And there's a legal process. Now, there are some ways that you can make this really easy so that you don't have to go through that process. And by the way, I recommend everyone here who's a family planning attorney. But most people don't do that, right? Is that they leave this stuff up to probate, which is kind of a nightmare. And when someone has a nightmare, you can be the dream. You could come in to the rescue and get this deal done for them. Because when they call an attorney, when an heir, someone who's going to be inheriting the property, calls an attorney, the attorney says, sure, I'll get this done. Why don't you write me a check for $5,000? And they say, what? I don't have $5,000, right? And so they just sit there. And by the way, sometimes there's multiple people involved and no one wants to put money out. So now you come in with a knight in shining armor and get the deal done. So in this episode, I'm going to tell you, based on that scenario, how you can come in and swoop, do the deal, make some money, add some value, and create an amazing business for yourself while helping people in the process. Okay, so remember, number one, that this was the juiciest deals out there. Absolutely true. Number two, when you say it's a sensitive situation, well, that is true. And so you need to guide the seller. You need to be a very good listener. You need to listen to the seller tell stories about their mom, their dad, their brother, their aunts, whoever that was, right? You need to show kindness and compassion because they need that right now. And because of that, right, is that you're doing this, number one, because you should do that anyway. But the person that they are going to do business with, they want to trust, right? They want to trust you. So be that person. The next step, though, is you want to let the seller know that you've got this, right? That you've got this handled, that you know how to handle this, and that you could structure the deal in a way that they could sell the property with as little hassle as possible, and that you will keep them informed and guided the entire way with full transparency, right? That you have an attorney on your side who will get this done for them with no money up front out of pocket. That's the key word there, that you have an attorney, title company, who will get this done for them without any money up front. Keyword there, up front. Okay. And usually they're going to be like, oh. So step one is I have them sign the purchase agreement immediately. It does not matter if they're on title. Why? People say, oh, that's a non-legally binding contract. Well, maybe not. But if the seller wants out, I'm going to let him out. So who cares? It doesn't need to be legally binding, right? So I like to get a purchase agreement signed. And by the way, it might be, right? Depending on the state, right? But I like to get a purchase agreement with the person who's going to be owning the house with their name on it. Okay. And by the way, when I mean legally binding, I'm not saying it's illegal. I'm saying is the contract is enforceable if that new seller tried to back out. That's what I mean by that. Okay. So the prospective new owner will sign the agreement with their name on it. And there's some other terms. And I'll say this agreement is subject to seller getting title via the probate process, and seller agrees to cooperate with buyer in getting said probate done. Boom. And reimburse attorney for any fees at closing. You write that agreement, you give them some tender love and care, white gloves. Okay. And now you take that agreement, let them know that they don't need the title in their name to start the process. You take that agreement to your attorney. Now, you previously, hopefully, have negotiated a deal with a good probate attorney. If you haven't, stop, right? And I would do this first if you don't have any of these deals. Find a good probate attorney in town and find one who specializes, obviously, in probates, and tell them that you need a good attorney to get your deals closed. And then see if they will charge on the back end when the deal closes. I could tell you about 30 to 40% will do this, no problem whatsoever. They're used to, right? Probate's going to cost anywhere from $1,500 to $8,500 depending on the complexity, right? I think 85 is the most expensive one. 1,500 I think is my cheapest. So they will almost always take payment on the back end. Sometimes if the case is really complex, like really, really, really complex, we just had one that was nuts, but huge profit on the end. They may require some payment up front. And I have done that depending again on how big the deal is. So have that lined up and then send it to the attorney. Now, what I like to do is two things. I say, okay, great. I introduce them to the title company. This is the person who's going to be closing the deal. Number two, this is the person who's going to handle the probate. Let them know the entire situation, but it's your job, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. If they ask you for something, you've got to get it to them immediately, like 24, 48 hours. Can you commit to that? I will handle the paperwork. I'll handle the money. I'll handle the negotiation. I'll handle all that. But they're going to ask you, let's say, for this document here or that document there, and you've got to be super responsive. So can you do that, Mr. and Mrs. Seller? And they'll say yes. Boom. Now you're off to the races. 6 to 8 weeks later, the deal should be done. You'll be there. You should either have had a new wholesale buyer lined up to sell this sucker because you should have time to do that, or you have cash to buy the property. Maybe you got a hard money lender. Maybe you got a partner. Maybe you have cash yourself. I don't care what you do, but now you've had some good time to decide what you're going to do with this thing. And now you're going to either sell it for maximum profit. You're going to keep it as a rental property. Maybe you're going to fix and flip it. Hopefully not put too much work into it. You know, I would say rehabbing is for suckers, or maybe you'll, joint venture with us in one of your markets. By the way, if you are interested in joint venturing with us, you can send an email to support@nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. If you're in San Diego, the Treasure Coast of Florida, and now Birmingham, Alabama. So support@nolimitsrealestateinvesting.com. Go ahead and check that out. Now, a couple things you need to look out here for if you do this. Ask the person who you're dealing with if there any siblings kind of on the outskirts that they're not telling me about. That can kill the deal. Okay, so if someone's trying to sell the property really fast without telling any other siblings, don't get involved with that deal, right? You got to get everybody on the same page. Chances are that everyone's going to get a piece of that pie. Don't let them say, oh, but my father said I was his favorite daughter and I'm getting the whole house. Don't listen to that garbage, okay? Do not get involved where someone's trying to sell the house at lightning speed without telling any of the other siblings, especially in a probate situation. So could the seller back out after you do this probate thing? Yeah, maybe they could, right? After you put that time and energy and the attorney puts in some money, right? But if that's the case, I would just move on to the next deal. This has never happened to us, and the deals have been so juicy that it's worth it. So let me summarize. Number one, these are some of the juiciest deals out there. Number two, yes, it does require sensitivity. Ask questions, listen to the seller. Do not pressure them, but ask good questions and get commitments, just like I talk about in the no limits selling system. Get a lawyer who does this stuff on contingency. They're paid out of the proceeds. Remember, these are the biggest value deals because you're bringing contacts, knowledge, okay, level-headedness. That's a huge value. Make sure there are no unknown siblings who are involved in the deal, right, to waste your time, because if they're trying to sell it without including other siblings who might be entitled, okay, that's going to come up in the probate process. So, make sure everybody's on the same page. And remember, the seller could back out after you do the probate, and you can do some legal protection stuff, but I'm not really too worried about that. It's never happened to us. And if it did, I'd just move on to the next deal. So great question. I hope you do a lot of probate deals. Remember to head over to nextlevelwholesaling.com. If you're looking to scale that real estate business, you're looking to get it to the next level, take that assessment. It's going to give you some crystal clarity on your very next step. Go to nextlevelwholesaling.com and take that assessment today. Talk to you soon.